best simple tip is chip and putt first, because if you don't, you generally don't do it. That's a good tip for amateur golfers. Even if it's 10-15 minutes, just go work on this stuff.
So every day when you show up at the golf course, you do this first, right?
Yep.
Because if you go over there and hit balls, you'll just
kind of get stuck in a hole when you're working on it, and it's more fun to sit there and hit driver too, right? But it's easy to kind of get stuck working on your golf swing for hours. It's like, okay, well, I got to go home.
But when it comes to scoring, especially in a tournament, here.
A lot of amateurs miss a lot of greens too, obviously more than professionals too. So if anything, it's more important for them to work on their
awesome.
short game.
I totally agree. Hey everybody, welcome back to Superstition Mountain. I'm out here with Blake Cannon. We're doing a little short game stuff for MiloLinesGolf.com. So I hope you guys will like this video and subscribe to it, and also visit us on my website where all the rest of these videos are going to go there. Blake's given us some really good insight into the short game. But I wanted this one to be public for everybody, so we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we find to be key in short game. And the number one thing was radius control is what we find to be king.
Yep.
What is the main principle for you that makes radius control possible? Is it maintaining width?
It's maintaining width and creating a functional pivot. That's the best way to say it. So what we've been talking a lot about is radius control and width, to me, are kind of synonymous, right?
Okay.
Because when I'm talking good radius control, I'm talking about maintaining width throughout the motion of a chip or pitch shot.
So that this, basically the center of that club face is about the same distance away from your center all the time, right?
Yep, absolutely. On a pitch shot, that's the perfect way to say it. It's never, another way to say it, it's definitely never getting closer to me.
Yeah, because if it gets closer, it has to get farther away again, so then you're going to run it into the ground.
Which makes that angle of attack, so as soon as it comes this way, it's going to unload that way.
Perfect.
Which is what we're trying to avoid when we're chipping and pitching. Whereas if I maintain that relationship, it becomes very easy to make good solid contact. Whether it's one-handed, two-handed, it doesn't get real hard to make good contact when you have good radius control.
Awesome. Now, one of the things we were talking about earlier is my fundamentals for the golf swing is pivot is king. Almost every issue I see in somebody's golf swing is pivot related. Usually they do something goofy and that causes arm structure or something else to break down. Do we see the same things here?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're talking about with radius control, keeping this the same distance. If you look, I mean, for this little pitch shot, my chest is obviously turned quite a bit.
Yes.
And when I finish the motion, my chest is going to be turned quite a bit through.
So
the reason for that is, so if I'm turning back and turning through, the reason that I can maintain that's why I'm able to maintain that radius. If I keep my chest constant and I'm not pivoting, which is what generally when you see amateurs, you see a lot of kind of getting stuck over the ball and not using their chest at all.
And we see that same thing in their golf swings.
Same thing in their golf swing.
They don't want to turn their chest. They don't want to wind up correctly.
So if I don't turn my chest, even if I'm trying to maintain this radius, my arms are going to lift, whether it's a pitch shot, golf swing, whatever. So now, I mean, I'm going to stick it back in the ground, so I can't maintain that radius unless I have a good pivot.
Awesome. Okay, so you, in your quest for becoming the best golfer you can be, you've taken golf lessons from lots and lots of people, and short game lessons from all of the experts, right?
Yeah.
Well, you found for yourself that radius control was more important than using the bounce or trying to do something that was kind of contrary to your natural athletic motion, right?
And I think, when you talk, a lot of guys talk about the bounce, and they talk about where the handle is at address and more importantly at impact, and they talk about having a neutral handle at impact so that you utilize the bounce. The reason it didn't work for me is because I was trying to do that for years probably, but I still had I had a steep angle of attack. And we've talked about how, through our video series, how that doesn't, even if I use bounce, that doesn't stop the club from digging. What I started to notice, and the reason I hated it so much, is because I've always been and always will be a player with more shaft lean at impact. From golf swing to chipping to everything. You're a
dynamic player. You create a lot of shaft lean. You create a lot of speed, right?
And I do.
For you, it's very unnatural to be able to unload the head past your hand.
Very unnatural. And what I found is, under pressure, I didn't.
You couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it. And it didn't matter how hard I tried or how slow I tried to swing, so long as my club was going this way, it didn't matter. Yeah. What I started to notice, doing my own research and looking at a lot of guys' short games and kind of researching what they did, their short game patterns generally matched up with their full swing patterns.
So you mentioned earlier Brooks Koepka and Jordan Spieth, and then Luke Donald. So Luke Donald has kind of the stereotypical,
he has the
prototype, what everybody wants to teach.
Prototype of most people teaching, right? But if you look,
what's his golf swing look like?
It looks quite a bit like his short game.
So he
unloads the head quite a bit. He has a little bit more face rotation than most players. If you go look at a Brooks Koepka chip, I mean, they've showed how many U.S. Open chip shots where his club face looks like that in his chip shot.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys say that that's a death sentence. Well, he chips it pretty good. Jordan Spieth, I mean, I've seen him take more divots chipping, and it's functional to what he does. When Jordan Spieth comes through the golf ball, his hands look like this.
Well, he's got this.
Yeah.
This is his impact position on his golf swing, and that's his impact position on his chip shot.
And a lot of amateurs are told that it's impossible to chip with the hands like that. Well, for me, I figured out that I could do that just fine if I needed to. I figured out I could have my hands up here, which is obviously exaggerated to what I would normally be. And I was told that for a long time this would make me chunk the golf ball. Well, that's just wholeheartedly untrue. And so I kind of got to a point where it's like, no, okay, this bounce stuff is good for loft. It's good for loft. But it's not the end-all be-all in terms of curing contact and chipping. Radius control is the key.
Yes, and we both totally agree on that.
And almost every good short gamer does that.
Yeah, I would say that is the common denominator. The good short game artists, whether they use more of a throw motion or a hold motion or no hinge at all motion, they're good at radius control. Good at
because I mean, now that I understand radius control, this is what's funny. Now I can use the bounce like I was taught for so long. Now, if I want to, I can go like this and hit pretty good shots. Obviously, that's exaggerated, but I also learned, well, I can have my hands up here and still make good contact. So it really that's not as relevant to contact. It's more just how much loft you have on the club when your club gets to the ball.
Exactly.
But I think too many people, have these patterns built into their golf swing, and I've seen it where I've seen guys who hit it, more like you and I do, where you're more dynamic and you get the hands in front of the golf ball and do these things, and they go to chipping, and I look at them, they're over there going like this, and it's like, that's not your golf swing. That's not going to match up, and it's probably not going to be something that's very comfortable for you because it's not something you do anywhere else.
And I find that
in sports.
For me, it goes completely contrary to my natural athleticism. And if I do that, I can do it around here, chipping, showing somebody how to do it. But you put me under pressure where I'm playing for money, and that falls apart fast.
And I think this is the key to that. So a lot of times when you're trying to unload the shaft, right? Trying to unload that shaft into the golf ball. Well, it's pretty natural for people to also load the shaft in the backswing. So you get a lot of people teaching this kind of load and unload. Almost like you're not really moving the arms. I've seen so many guys teach this, where you're kind of loading and unloading the shaft. And I could do it hitting around the chipping greens because I have pretty good hands, but what would happen is, under pressure, I'd go like this and my hands would go, And instantly, as soon as your hands move forward, you're dead.
I know exactly the feeling, because my nature is, I'm going to set it, and then I'm going to start, my body's going to get involved in it.
When you hit a full swing, you can kind of get away with it because your body's shifting forward and doing these things, and you can get away with contact more. Chipping, you do this, and then that, you're not going to hit, you're going to hit a lot of skulls and chunks. Versus, let's say I get nervous and my hands go forward and I've created this nice wide arc. Now if my hands speed up and go forward, it really doesn't, that was kind of, tried to speed it up, didn't cost my contact anything.
Awesome. Well, what's really interesting is on your journey, as we became friends and I helped you with your golf swing, the exact principles that I helped you apply in your golf swing, you figured out how to apply them right here.
And that's, I figured out together figured out what works good for my golf swing.
Yeah.
And then I in turn went, okay, why am I trying to do the opposite fundamentals in my short game when it's chipping a golf ball? I should be able to figure this out pretty easy. And it's like, this was just never natural to me, and I practiced it more than anybody. I'd spend out there 2 hours a day. You spend 2 hours a day chipping and you still stink? Well, it's probably not going to work very, very well for you. So I started to figure out, I said, okay, well, how can I take my natural patterns and make those really good? And then I said, through a lot of research and watching a lot of guys with really good short games, I started to notice, whether it's Steve Stricker, Jason Day, Luke Donald, they all have their little idiosyncrasies, but they all have good radius control in their pitching. That's what Phil Mickelson, they all do.
I would say that is the key.
It's absolutely the key. And because you can get your handle position kind of becomes irrelevant in terms of contact. And I think, like we've been talking about in the video series, once you get your contact down, it opens up a lot of opportunities for you in terms of short game.
Awesome. Well, I'm here to testify. I've watched Blake, and his short game is about as good as anybody's. And I would put you up in a chipping contest with pretty much anybody in the world. What do you think? You think you could hang with anybody?
I think my short game went from being glaring weakness to probably my greatest strength when it comes to golf. I mean,
which is a pretty good strength to have, because you're a good ball striker, and with your short game, it's going to take you somewhere. It's
key, and it's important. And I always have people come up to me who are learning golf, and they want me to help them with their golf swing. It's like, I always tell them, like, I'm not really that good at working on people with a golf swing. It's hard, and it's kind of out of my league. I always tell them, go for the low-hanging fruit. This stuff's not that hard, and you will shave so many strokes off your game. Like, working on the golf swing can be really difficult. Working this stuff, the fundamentals are simple. It just takes a little bit of time, and you can shave so many strokes off your game by just getting down some basic fundamentals.
Awesome. You guys heard it here, and I agree. If you want to get better at golf, right here, this is where it's at. Work on your short game, learn radius control, and learn to apply some of the same natural athleticism that you use in your full swing and in other sports to this shot right here.
The best simple tip is chip and putt first, because if you don't, you generally don't do it. That's a good tip for amateur golfers. Even if it's 10-15 minutes, just go work on this stuff.
So every day when you show up at the golf course, you do this first, right?
Yep.
Because if you go over there and hit balls, you'll just
kind of get stuck in a hole when you're working on it, and it's more fun to sit there and hit driver too, right? But it's easy to kind of get stuck working on your golf swing for hours. It's like, okay, well, I got to go home.
But when it comes to scoring, especially in a tournament, here.
A lot of amateurs miss a lot of greens too, obviously more than professionals too. So if anything, it's more important for them to work on their
awesome.
short game.
I totally agree. Well, cool. I hope everybody likes this video. I think there's some really good info here. So if you did, like it and subscribe.
Not that hard.